Hi there. Welcome to this presentation on Service Integration Framework APIs for metadata management in the Informatica Master Data Management product. So as part of this presentation, we'll cover why and what are some of the Service Integration Framework APIs for metadata management. We'll talk about the bigger picture on what we could do with each of these APIs, how we could use them together. I'll go over a quick demo on each of these APIs, and we'll conclude with where do you need to go if you need more information on any of these APIs. So let's get started with what are these metadata management APIs. So as we know, Informatica Master Data Management product has a rich suite of service integration framework APIs, basically to interact with your Hub Console. So, and we also know that MDM has a Hub Console client, which basically is used to go in and modify your metadata within the MDM product. So we have a set of APIs which go in and modify these metadata, which modify, apply, validate, whatever you typically do via Hub Console to the APIs, to the metadata, you could do them through these APIs basically. So to name some of these APIs, we have ValidateMetadata to validate your ORS, ValidateChangeList in case you have an XML change list which you've generated, so you could validate it to check whether it's schematically correct. We have the CreateChangeList API, which goes in and generates a change list for you. The ApplyChangeList API, which applies a change list to an ORS. So what do we do with all these? So the whole idea is we know that typically when we're doing metadata changes, they're prone to errors when humans are doing it. So we want to automate this process. So once, let's say, your developer has done some metadata changes in the development environment, you want to port them over to the QA and then to other environments like interface testing and probably a gold environment, and then eventually to prod. You don't want to do all of these in a manual fashion. So what you would want to do is, I mean, once you get the change from your developer, you want to provide probably some kind of a script which goes in and applies this to the QA. And then you probably want some kind of a script which compares your QA and your gold or environment and generates an XML for you, and you could then validate with the developer that yeah, these are the exact changes which you want, and then you could apply it in the gold, and then eventually you could compare your gold and your prod and apply the changes to the prod environment. So the whole idea here is that you automate this process via your own scripts using the APIs that are provided by MDM. So let's get into a quick demo now on the SIF APIs. So I have my Hub Console open here. So I have two ORSs, met source and met destination. So if you see, my met destination is in an unknown state right now. So I'm going to use SOAP UI, in fact a SOAP UI plugin for Eclipse to demo this set of APIs for you. So let's get started with the validate ORS or the validate metadata API. So this basically validates an ORS for you. So in this specific example, I'm saying I want to validate CMX met destination ORS, and I'm passing the request to the SIF service endpoint on the server. So I run this API, I'm going to get a list of warnings, error messages, and if there are none, it's completely a success. I get a success message. So in this case, I got a success saying my validate request went through successfully. Let's quickly check in the Hub Console. You see here the met destination, which was in an unknown state a couple minutes back, is now in a valid state. So next, API that we have is the ValidateChangeList. It works very similar to ORS, but in this case, what we do is we have a changelist XML which I'm validating. So the whole idea is if you have your developer who's given you a changelist before applying it, you just want to validate that it's schematically correct. So there is a changelist XML tag which you could use to give the entire XML, and it validates it for you. So let me run this in this XML. I'm just adding a new source system. So it validates that this XML is schematically correct, right? So it says, yeah, it's true. So the next API I'm going to talk about is the CreateChangeList API. So there's two possible options here. The first option is where you're comparing a source ORS with a destination ORS, and it tells you what's the changes between the source and the destination. It in fact gives you an entire change list XML, which is the list of changes between those two environments. So let me run this. So this tells me it ran through fine, and these are the changes which I have. Basically, I have a new source system by name test2. I have a new source system by name test3. I have a new source system by name test4, and I have a new source system by name test5. So, and that's my list of changes here. So next, the same change list, but in this case, instead of comparing a target ORS, I compare it with an XML. So it compares the whole XML against my source ORS and tells me what the changes are. So what I've done here is I just exported out the met source into an XML, and I'm giving that entire XML here. So and I'm saying, okay, compare the XML against met source. In fact, so in this case, I should not get any changes at all. So my create change list went through fine, and if you see here, there's no changes at all. So that's because they're exactly the same. So the last API that we're going to talk about is ApplyChangeList. So this is where you have an XML, the ChangeList XML, and you want to apply this ChangeList to an ORS. Then you would go in and give that entire XML as part of the ChangeList XML tag, and you would need to choose a rollback strategy, whether you want a full rollback or you want to roll back to last change. So this is in case you have multiple changes as part of this change list. Let's say you have 1 through 10 and 1 through 8 went to fine, and now change number 9 failed for some reason. What do you want to do? Do you want to roll back the entire change, or do you want to go back to just a point where you go back to like change 8? So that's roll back to last change. But then if you want to go back to however the ORS was before you applied any of the changes which was part of this change list, you would do a full rollback. So here I want to add a new source system by name test6. So I have an add system tag, and so let's go ahead and run this against destination. So we get a message back that it succeeds. So the first thing I note here is now the met destination is in an unknown state because there's a change which has happened. So let's get into the system and trust and see if my new source system appears there. Sorry, this is the wrong ORS. Let's get to the destination ORS. So I have my test 6 here. Right. So that's the system that I created. So the whole idea here is, yeah, you would go ahead and use these APIs and how you want to use them. Let's say, in case of dev to QA, you would get the change list from your developers and validate them and apply them. In case of, let's say, QA to maybe gold or QA to prod, you don't get the change list from your developer. You just compare two ORSs and generate the change list between them, the delta change list, and then use this change list to apply. So yeah, you could use it in any permutation and combination that your organization wants. So the whole idea is to automate your process of managing metadata in the Informatica Master Data Management product. So if you need more information on any of these APIs, so you could go through the Service Integration Framework Guide for MDM. So that has a whole lot of information on what these APIs do and what each of the parameters are as part of the APIs. So thanks for watching this demo.